Since a lot of you have been asking for Arlott versus Minsitthar, here's a full guide on how to lane against him. And don't be scared of Arlott, he should actually be scared of you, because Arlott's skill 2 gives him immunity, letting him dash through even Akai's heavy spin or Kufr's bouncing ball, but Mincy can prevent him from casting his skill 2. Alright, let's jump into the draft. And as you can see, I first picked Minsitthar here, but look at the enemy team. Their XP laner immediately locked in Arlott thinking it would be an easy counter. But for those who don't know me yet, I'm Checkmate and I'm guessing this Arlott has already taken down plenty of Mincies in his games, judging by how confidently he picked this hero. But if you want to level up your own Mincy gameplay, don't worry, hit like and subscribe because I'll share everything I know so you can start winning more solo ranked games too. When it comes to laning against Arlott, you should always be the one setting the pace, especially at level 1. This is where Minsitthar shines. Take advantage of the extra damage from your passive and the heal it gives you. Now, Arlott will usually try to secure his minions by staying close to the wave, and that's where you punish him. Deny his farm, position yourself aggressively, get close, and poke him whenever he tries to step in. The goal here isn't just to deal damage, but to pressure him so much that he has to give up minions or play from under his tower. Once you force him into that situation, he's already at a disadvantage. A Minsitthar with lane control can dictate the tempo, and an Arlott who's hugging his tower loses the early pressure he's supposed to have. As you can see here in this clip, I'm still almost at full HP while Arlott is already down to half. That's the power of controlling the lane right from level 1. At this point, this Arlott is probably starting to regret picking him into this matchup. To be fair, Arlott can stand a chance against Minsitthar, but only if the Mincy player doesn't know how to use him strategically and effectively. You see, I play Arlott as well, so I understand his strengths and limits. And to be honest, I'm not comfortable picking Arlott up against Minsitthar who knows exactly what he's doing. And look at this, Arlott is risking everything just to secure his minions. I could have easily used my flicker here to close the gap and finish him off, but this is where respect and discipline come in. Remember, once Arlott hits level 2, the matchup changes. He now gets access to more dashes, and with that comes extra sustain and movement speed from his passive. If you get too greedy, he can quickly turn the fight around. That's why it's better to play safe at this point. Don't waste your flicker just for a risky takedown. Instead, save it for the upcoming turtle fight, where it can make a much bigger impact. Small decisions like this really matters. That's exactly why we were able to secure the turtle so easily. And on top of that, I even picked up a bonus takedown on my lane opponent. Trust me, Arlott is one of the easiest heroes to punish if you're playing Minsitthar correctly. He's completely reliant on his skill 2, and he can't even press this skill if he's up against Mincy. And at this point, I decided to let my teammates handle the rest of the enemies while I maintained control over my lane. I was confident they could manage on their own, but soon I noticed they were starting to struggle. So I immediately chose to go back and provide backup. But if you look closely, you'll notice that our gold laner is struggling against his lane opponent. Normally, this would be the perfect setup to run an XP gambit rotation and turn things around. But for this match, I won't be doing that because my main focus here is to show you exactly how to handle Arlott in lane. The first and most important thing you need to master when playing Minsitthar is patience. You need to understand that this hero is weak, so as much as possible, resist the urge to always clear minions. You just need to stay close from them. Learn to wait patiently in the bush. Don't even let your lane opponent see a glimpse of your shadow. And the longer the better, because your opponent will think you're rotating somewhere else considering the amount of time that have already passed. See, Arlott starts to let his guard down. He probably feels confident because he knows their mage is nearby and ready to back him up. But we've mastered the hook plus ultimate into the tower combo and almost no one escapes it. And in this match, their mage and Arlott are actually a duo, which explains why they have such good synergy. Every move they make looks coordinated, and it's clear they already have a game plan designed to take me down. This makes the matchup even trickier, because you're not just dealing with Arlott alone, you're dealing with an orchestrated setup where his mage is always ready to follow up on his engages. And as you can see here, I'm still playing it really safe, even though I already have a decent gold and level advantage over Arlott. Because trust me, no matter how far ahead you are, Arlott can still take you down if you play recklessly letting your guard down. That's why, as much as possible, you should stay close to your turret. Whatever happens, at least you'll always have that extra layer of safety and a chance to escape. And again, discipline is the key. Don't rush to clear the minions. As long as you're standing near the wave, you'll still gain the gold and experience. What's more important is keeping yourself undetected. Also, sometimes you need to look like you're scared and backing off, even when you're completely in control. This is what sets up the trap. By pretending to retreat, you give your opponent a false sense of confidence, making them think they have the advantage. What they don't realize is that you're just baiting them to step right into your trap. And the moment they overcommit, that's when you strike. You catch them off guard with your ultimate plus flicker combo, locking them down before they can react. If you look closely here, you'll also notice how I always maintain distance from my enemies. I'm just constantly trying to land my hook whenever I see an opening. Even if it doesn't connect every time, the threat of it alone forces the enemy to play more cautiously. And listen to this carefully. One of Minsitthar's biggest downsides is his long ultimate cooldown. Sure, you might think about building fleeting time for faster resets, and while that's not a bad option, personally I don't build it. Instead, I play around my cooldowns with patience. While waiting for my ultimate to come back, I just focus on safely farming resources and keeping control of my lane. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't bother rotating to help with the turtle fight. And the answer comes down to two simple reasons. First, Minsithar's mobility is very limited, like he's just walking with boots. And even if I decided to rotate, there's a good chance I'd still arrive late. And by then, the fight could already be over. Second, and more importantly, I didn't have my ultimate available at that moment. Without it, my presence in a skirmish is much weaker. It becomes a 50-50 gamble. So instead of forcing a risky fight, I usually look for a smarter trade, which is to farm and push turrets on the opposite side. But it turns out that turtle clash was actually very crucial, and missing it gave the enemies a chance to strike back. Maybe, if I still had my flicker, I could have made it there in time to turn things around. But that's the trade-off I chose. And as you'll see here, the enemies will start to get more confident after that. Now notice I always stick to the bushes, always using the element of surprise. Some might say, oh, so you're just a camper. But what they don't realize is how important off-map pressure really is in this game. It may look small or insignificant to the average player, but to me, this is one of the hardest things to deal with as an opponent. Because honestly, it's extremely difficult to beat someone who knows exactly when to hide and when to strike. Bottom line is, don't let your enemies read you too easily. Even something as simple as disappearing into a bush and denying vision can force them to overthink every move. But while While all this is happening, you can see their gold laner is basically having the time of his life. That's partly because I wasn't able to rotate toward the gold lane early on, since I decided to put most of my focus into Arlott. And here's a bonus tip, just let your minions destroy the turret for you. By doing this, you won't get revealed on the map, and most of the time, the enemies will assume you've already rotated to another lane. Basically think of it as setting up a king's trap. Then once the turret is destroyed, don't rush forward. Instead, slowly move toward the bush, because we already know what's coming next. Arlott will be the one defending this. You see, playing MLBB is just like playing chess. The key is to read your opponent's next move and stay 2 steps ahead. Once you understand their patterns, it becomes much easier to set up strategies and lay traps that force them right into your hands. Look at this Arlott trying to run, but we already calculated his every move. Now, here's something important. Don't do this in your own games, especially if there's a Lord objective on the map. As the XP laner, your priority should be zoning and helping your teammates secure the Lord. Yes, there are situations where split pushing can work, but in this particular scenario, the smarter play is to stay with your team and secure the objective together. I'm just chasing Arlott here for the content, but remember, in your ranked games, always put objectives first. Since we weren't present during the Lord dance, things turned really rough for our team. Most of my teammates got wiped out, and it came down to only our mage laner standing. Luckily, our jungler managed to secure the Lord just in time, which saved us from a complete disaster. Also, Saber had already used his ultimate. I knew the biggest threat to me was gone. That's why I wasn't scared anymore, even if the enemies had vision on me. And now, we're back in the bush, patiently waiting for the perfect ambush. This is exactly why I always tell players, before you buy Minsitthar, test your patience first. You see, patience isn't just helpful, it's a requirement if you want to play Minsitthar effectively. Now you might wonder why I'm not engaging even with my full kit ready. It's because Minsithar's skills are predictable, and if I go in too early, Clint will just dodge everything. So in this type of scenario, you can actually use the hook plus forward ultimate combo to extend your hook range. But the catch is, you need to be precise, not too far, and with the right distance estimation, or else it gets risky. That's why I chose not to engage, and just waited patiently. This also answers why I mostly use Flicker instead of Inspire, because Minsitthar is all about the element of surprise. As you can see, Clint easily managed to dodge my hook, which proves why patience and timing matter so much with this hero. I usually don't force another takedown. Instead, I trust my teammates to finish off the rest of the enemies. For me, the real priority is clearing waves and preventing any potential push. That's why I always keep an eye on the map. And here I noticed our gold laner was already down, while Saber was freely pushing the bottom lane. So instead, I made it my priority to rotate there. But then our jungler got hunted by their duo. I kept my distance just enough to stay out of their vision. That's when we caught Arlott by surprise with a hook while he was busy chasing. After that, I quickly pushed the bottom wave, then immediately rotated back to top since the Lord was about to spawn on the bottom side. But remember, don't clear the minion waves too early, especially if you have no idea where the enemies are. Instead, wait patiently and stay hidden in a nearby bush, close enough to absorb EXP and gold. This also sets up the perfect trap, because the enemies will be tempted to clear the wave, and that's exactly when they walk right into your trap. What I really like about Minsitthar is the damage reduction from his skill 2. Even if I go full damage build, he still manages to have decent sustain, which makes him harder to take down than most people expect. And once the game reaches late stages, his passive kicks in much faster, letting him clear waves quicker and gain lifesteal more effectively. That's why I honestly don't understand why many players still underestimate this hero's true potential. Yes, I made a blunder there and got taken down, but it's fine since my teammates managed to secure the Lord without much contest. Normally as a solo player, I like to make sure all lanes are pushing simultaneously, but honestly that gets kind of boring to watch. So instead, I decided to stick with my teammates this time. Plus, with Atlas on our side, grouping up made perfect sense. It's a perfect setup for devastating teamfight combos. By the way, this is one of those scenarios where Inspire actually works really well on Minsitthar, especially if you're not the one setting up plays for your team. If you really want to run Inspire, it's best when you've got heavy initiators like Atlas, Tigreal, or Johnson to start the fight for you. With that kind of setup, Minsitthar becomes a real nightmare to deal with. Trust me, Inspire Minsitthar is absolutely terrifying. Also, playing this hero is all about position. Always place yourself where the enemies can't see you. I'll say it again, it's the element of surprise that makes Minsith so scary and effective. If they can't see you coming, they can't dodge your skills. But to be real, Atlas already set things up perfectly here. I just swooped in and kind of stole the setup. And here's the emblem and talents I used in this match. You can switch around these 3 depending on your playstyle, but I highly recommend keeping pull yourself together all the time. It gives you shorter battle spell cooldown. And for the builds, you can try this setup. Or if you're up against a sustain Arlott, consider building 2 or even 3 defensive items to survive longer in fights. But if the matchup feels easier, go for full damage, because it really depends on the situation and your confidence in the game.